minutes. And with that, thank God it's Friday. Greedy continues in Pittsburgh for the draft. Kevin Nagani here with you, our crew in New York, feeling very good with the Jets and what they did. Busy show today following a wild first round of the draft. We got Dan Graziano, Jordan Rogers, Alan Hahn bumming right now. Monica will be joining us from Atlanta. Dano and Dominique live from Pittsburgh, where we begin the morning. After months of debate, the 2026 NFL draft started last night with the first round. No surprise, Fernando Mendoza taken first overall by the Raiders. After that, we saw a running back, Jeremiah Love, taken third overall. We saw the Chiefs trade up to number 6 to get the first cornerback, and Ohio State produced 4 of the first 11 picks, just the third school in draft history to do so. Let's hand out some winners and losers looking back on the night. Neek, who was your biggest winner?
Yeah, I think it's John Harbaugh and the Giants. They were able to get Arvell Reese, who I think they were shocked was still there at that spot. He's projected to be quite possibly the best and most impactful defensive player in this draft, with comps to Micah Parsons and then Maui Noah to support that offensive line and help protect that quarterback and initiate the running attack with what some people think is the best offensive lineman in the draft. I think they nailed it.
All right, Jordan, your biggest loser last night.
Yeah, it was the Cardinals, right? We talked a lot about that third overall pick, the value of taking a running back in that spot when you don't have the offensive line shirt up, you don't have your quarterback of the future. Doesn't mean he's not extremely talented and one of the best football players in the draft, but man, if they would have got Ty Simpson late or figured out a way to get the quarterback situation addressed in the first round as well, would have been a home run. Instead, it's like, okay, now what? That you have a running back that's one of your highest paid players.
Dano, who was your biggest winner aside from yourself?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson, 1 year starter at Alabama, and he goes to an organization in the Los Angeles Rams that is as well run top to bottom as anybody in the NFL. They are going to draft well consistently. They've got a head coach in Sean McVay that is an unbelievable leader and X's and O's guys. He's going to a place that expects to win a Super Bowl, gets to learn behind and sit behind a future Hall of Famer in Matthew Stafford. The ideal landing spot for any young quarterback, certainly a player like Ty Simpson.
All right, speaking of Simpson, and you mentioned Sean McVay, he spoke about the opportunity to eventually succeed Matthew Stafford after the pick was made. A lot of people interpreted it a certain way. Just listen to what he said.
I'm super pumped to, just be a part of a room with him and to learn from him. He's one of the greatest of all time, quarterback wise. And, we watch his, film all the time when I was at Bama, or the stuff they did, the stuff the Rams did and Coach McVay. So the fact that I get to be in a room and soak up all that knowledge is something that, I couldn't ask for a better situation.
Let's make one thing clear. This is Matthew's team. And you get a chance to be able to address, the backup quarterback. We've got Stetson. We've talked about the importance of Jimmy. We're excited to be able to work with him, and I think he's really fortunate to be able to learn from the reigning MVP, a first ballot Hall of Famer, and a guy that shows what it looks like every single day.
Okay. Tone. Sometimes people interpret things with tone. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's all sit back. And let's give Dan Orlovsky, notice he's wearing a tie today.
Yeah, he went all in.
Let's give your victory lap right here. You said top 20. You've been on this Ty Simpson train. Well done by you. How do you feel?
Listen, throughout the process, you trust your eyes. I've always said that. Trust my eyes. I've been wrong before. I was right on this one. They weren't the only team. I will tell you that. They weren't the only team that was going to go to get him. So I think this is a smart organizational decision by the Rams. This is the way that high-end organizations operate. You get the quarterback when you don't need it. Okay, so now he has the opportunity. He doesn't have to play. He's going to sit and learn. He can sit for at least 1 year, if not 2, depending on how long Matthew plays. He gets to go to an organization that is as rock steady as anybody. And if we think about the Sean McVay offense, it's about being under center, it's about using shifts and motions, and it's about being in the play-action game. It's everything he did at Alabama this past year. I think he's going to be a very good player for 10-plus years under Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams, and they've got a very bright future both as an organization and as a player.
If there's a Ty Simpson club, Dan is the president. You came in as the vice president yesterday. Both you guys on this island with Ty Simpson said he's a first-round pick because he processes. Do you want to weigh in on how this played out for the Rams, especially at pick 13?
No doubt. Yeah, I said back in December I thought his tape was better than Mendoza's, so it's always been there. But what I love is the reason why, and why it's a perfect fit for Ty Simpson, but also the Rams. What did we hear Les Snead? One of the first things he said about Ty Simpson, processing. I said yesterday, I think he's the best processor, best quarterback between the ears in the entire draft. First thing Les Snead said. Then what did McVay said? He reads with his feet. And the system was an easy evaluation because he runs almost exactly what we run. So the fit is absolutely perfect. And then we just talked about, or Dan just alluded to, there is a high hit rate on taking a first-round quarterback with first-round traits, which he does, and first-round tape, and letting him sit for at least a year. Rodgers did it after Favre. Mahomes did it with Smith. Love did it after Rodgers. Those are all guys taken in the first round that sat for at least a year, learned from greats, and ended up being as good, maybe eventually better.
Okay, and I do want to establish one thing because we heard from Sean McVay, and most of the morning was, did you hear him? He doesn't seem happy. Oh, my goodness. The interpretation here, what was your thoughts on what we heard from McVay on the pick?
You know, it sort of reflected the workmanlike nature of the pick. This is not an exciting pick for fans of the 2026 Rams. Because you're thinking, we had the best team last year. We got ripped off. A two-point conversion went the wrong way. Otherwise, we're the 1 seed, maybe Super Bowl champs. So let's get that one piece that puts us over the top. Well, so they didn't. And I think, you know, this was I think, was it you or Dan that said smart organizational pick by the Rams? Dan said that. That's exactly what it was. But that's not super exciting on the first night of the draft when everyone's looking for you to sort of, you know, make the difference-making pick, and especially at 13, have an instant impact. I think it speaks to the nature of this particular draft that by 13, the Rams didn't have a guy that they thought, oh, he could put us over the top. This will be a major impact guy for us year one. I don't think there were a ton of those guys in this draft. So they make the pick of a team that didn't have many immediate needs and might need a quarterback a year from now more than they need anything else right now.
Dano, jump in right now real quick.
I want to, Dom, you go. Dom, go. I'll
okay,
follow Dom.
I do want to ask Dom this.
We have to put in there that it's a risky bet. I think we have to acknowledge that. We're all talking about how smart it is, and I do think it's smart. However, you have to understand that they are making a calculation that no matter whether you think someone is super impactful in the draft right now, there is somebody in the draft at 13 that would have helped them on the field next season. If Ty Simpson is on the field next season, they're not winning a Super Bowl. So they've made this calculation that they're trying to extend their window for 10 to 15 more years if they got this decision right. But they did definitely reduce their chances a little bit in the coming season because there's somebody, be it a receiver, an offensive lineman, another secondary member, there's somebody out there that they could have gotten at 13 that would have helped them more immediately than Ty Simpson.
Yeah, this is what I would say to that. One, this was the Falcons pick, not the Rams pick. So this was, in essence, a luxury pick. And this is what you do with a quote-unquote luxury. It is, Dom. Okay, so Love was taken when it wasn't necessarily a need. Patrick was taken when it wasn't necessarily a need. Lamar was taken when it wasn't necessarily a need. Josh Allen was taken maybe when it wasn't a need. I know they had, I believe, Tyrod Taylor, so maybe a little bit of a greater need. But the Ravens had Flacco, had won a Super Bowl in the past couple years. So like this is how smart organizations, when you have really good quarterbacks, a little bit on the back end, operate. Let's see what they do moving forward, though, because as much as I am a fan of this pick, okay, I am of the belief that now it's time to be aggressive if you're the Rams. Now it's time to say, Philadelphia, where are you with A.J. Brown and New England Patriots? Hey, Dallas Cowboys, where are you with George Pickens? Now it's time, if I'm the Rams, to take something pick-wise in the future, and you go to Matthew Stafford and say, hey, we are going to go get you another weapon. We are going to go get you a difference maker. We're going to take something of the future, since we chose for the future, and bring it to the present right now.
See, to the point on wide receiver, though, like the Rams have a type, right? Like there's a certain kind of wide receiver the Rams look for. You got to be a monster as a blocker, right? Like you're great with the ball in your hands after the catch. I'm not going to be surprised if the Rams draft a receiver tonight and the reaction is, oh, that's a perfect fit for what they want to do. And they found Cooper Kupp in the 3rd round. They found Puka Nacua in the 5th round.
And it's a deep day, too.
I think they have a lot of faith in their ability to address that position outside of round 1.
Nick, jump in now.
So it's not the Falcons pick. When it becomes the Rams pick, it becomes their pick. When ESPN pays me, it's my money. I'm keeping it. It's no longer the Falcons. It no longer belongs to ESPN. That's one. Two, there's no such thing as a luxury pick in the NFL. You are competing every day. I agree with you guys. I like the decision. I like the move. I'm just saying let's not pretend like there was not some sort of trade-off made here. We have to understand that the reason why it's a good decision is the gutsy decision. All those people that you named, all those teams you named that nailed it with drafting a quarterback early, all of them with the exception of the Ravens because they got Lamar at 32, all of them were kind of criticized for it. Like the Josh Allen pick was criticized. Sure. The Mahomes pick was a shock. Sure. The Aaron Rodgers pick was criticized, or excuse me, the Jordan Love pick was criticized. I'm saying that let's not all just sit up here, though we all agree that it's a good, smart, long-term, smart organizational decision. Let's not pretend that there wasn't a trade-off made. And at this time next year, or at the Super Bowl time next year, or playoff time next year, they got some injuries. They're weak in the secondary again. They have a weakness somewhere. We're all going to look up and be like, hey, that pick sure would have been nice.
But I want to explain one other thing, some complete context for the audience. You can use that 13th pick because it's the Falcons' pick in this mindset because their original pick, the 29th pick, was to get Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. And that was to fill an immediate hole immediately for a secondary.
If they would have entered last night without a pick because they used that first-round pick for Trent McDuffie and they checked that biggest box in a win-now mode, you'd be like, that's fine. They did what they needed to do with that first-round pick. Yeah. I agree with both Neek and Dan. Yeah. It's the truth is somewhere in between. It's not a luxury, and it's not just house money, but they made a pick for the future, and I agree with you and Dan. This is a deep second-day receiver class. They will make a move to put a weapon around Matt Stafford.
I also don't think it's crazy to think he could help them this year. Like, their quarterback is 37, went into last year with a bad back. If he's ready to play, it's conceivable he starts a game or two for you this year that you need to win. Backup quarterback is not the number 53 most important spot on the roster. Like, they got somebody who actually could be useful.
Dan Oak, jump in.
They're going to be picking somewhere between 28 and 32 next year. And guess what? As long as Sean McVay is their coach, they're going to be picking somewhere between the middle of the 20s and 32. They're not going to have many opportunities in the future to get a starting quarterback caliber player. That's why this is the right decision in the moment. Let's see tonight if they go get a difference maker at wide receiver. If they do, everyone's going to go, my goodness, the Rams, you've operated this thing flawlessly.
By the way, some context, too. The Rams are the first team to have a quarterback win the MVP, then draft a quarterback in the first round in the following year in the NFL draft. The first team to do it since the Bart Starr era of the Packers back in 1967. So we often do not see something like this, where you have the reigning MVP and then you draft at that position in the first round the following draft. So we'll follow that, of course. All right, the Rams are